Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome. I'm very pleased to be joined by Akshay Bhardwaj. Akshay is the head of commercial business development for OCI. OCI is a major player in I guess, ammonia and also up until now, certainly in some of the finished products around fertilizers. Originally a headquartered Dutch company, but obviously a pretty global multinational. And Akshay is going to be speaking at our forthcoming World Hydrogen UK event, 9th, 10th of April in London. So many thanks, Akshay. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Nadeem, and thanks for having me on this
Yeah,
platform. And we
yeah,
look forward to share my views. Thank you so
yeah.
much.
So OCI is obviously a big name in ammonia specifically. We've seen big announcements. I think it was in the US was almost $1 billion, I think, investment, and also potential projects. I think in Egypt. Nothing as yet that I can recall around the Europe landscape, but I'm sure there'll be some investments coming given the scale of your business. So maybe if you want to unpick, your sort of overall position around the transition to clean
Yeah,
fuels
yeah,
and specifically how you see ammonia playing a
yeah,
big part of it.
yeah. So thanks, Nadeem. So yes, I mean you've put it right that of course OCI is one of the largest companies or biggest companies in the ammonia production currently globally. Also more so on the gray side, but then as an organization, we continue to focus on sustainable ammonia as a fuel that we believe in. In that regards, we are developing perhaps the world's largest greenfield blue ammonia facility in Texas, US. So that is going to be a 1.1 million tons of blue ammonia production that is going to be commissioned within the next year. So we are confident that we'll have that commissioned by Q2 or Q3 of 2025. Initially, it would be gray ammonia production, but we transitioned to blue by Q2 or Q3 of 2026. And perhaps the delay is on account of receiving the permits and approvals from the US government on the Class 6 side. So essentially on the CCS side, where we are working with our partners, Linde, who are going to produce blue hydrogen, nitrogen for us, and then we offtake that and put that into our ammonia loop, so to produce blue ammonia. So that is the world's biggest facility upcoming on the blue ammonia side. Then we have green ammonia production in our portfolio that we announced last year, around 160,000 tons of green ammonia, again in the US region, in Beaumont, US, Texas area. And that project would be commissioned in phases. Phase one in 2025 with 80,000 tons of production, and then in a similar phase in 2026 for another incremental 80,000 tons. So these two are our marquee projects in the US side, and of course we have projects that we continue to develop globally. And Europe seems to be a very big market for us currently as well, and we continue to look for strategic opportunities as well. So yes.
In terms of that green ammonia plant, so do your business model look to own all of the infrastructure, or you partner with someone to build I assume, wind and solar assets in Texas?
So that's a good question, Nadeem. I think from our perspective, the model that we have employed till now is that OCI is known for its expertise on the ammonia side. So we continue to believe in that philosophy. And on account of that, even for our blue ammonia project in Texas, so we have Linde, the industrial gases company that is going to provide us, or we are going to offtake the blue hydrogen, nitrogen from them. And
Yeah.
then we build a ammonia synthesis loop, and then we put that hydrogen in that syn loops to produce ammonia. So essentially, what we're doing is that we are outsourcing the upstream part to our credible partners. In that case, Linde. Similar on the green ammonia side, we are working with an energy company known as New Fortress Energy, which is a big US energy company. So it's the same model that we're employing there, that New Fortress Energy would produce green hydrogen for us.
Yeah.
And then we offtake that green hydrogen, put that into an existing ammonia syn loop facility in Beaumont, Texas, and produce green ammonia through mass balancing. So, as a matter of strategy, yes, we can say that in the future projects as well, we continue to focus on ammonia production, while
Yeah.
we would have partners, strategic and credible partners who would, provide the upstream aspects for those products. Yes.
And there's a similar, I guess, business model in the Middle East. There's I think the announcement around COP27
Yeah.
in Egypt, but also maybe pulling out of the fertilizer industry. I think you mentioned before we started recording.
Yeah. So even on the Egypt side, we have our Fertiglobe partnership with ADNOC, which recently we have announced divestment. But of course the project that you talked about on the green ammonia side is a 15 megawatt project that we commissioned during COP27 in November 2022. And we made the first sales of green ammonia from that project in last year. So in November last year, we announced the first sales to Unilever and then their contract manufacturer, to Pickering fertilizers in India. Basically, they use that green ammonia for decarbonizing their washing powder feedstock. And then, of course, so that is a big achievement for us.
Yeah.
And not only for us in terms of as a producer, but also in terms of the offtakes. Very rarely you see an actual offtake happening of green ammonia anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But yes, we're proud to say that we were able to pull that off.
Interesting. And that first market is one that I haven't seen a lot of press around, which is decarbonizing washing detergent. Was that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for Unilever. And just to complete on that, so that is a 15 megawatt existing project, and then we are working on a 100 megawatt project of green ammonia in Egypt, and that project would be commissioned by 2026-27 timeframe. So yes.
Yeah. And in terms of, I mean, yeah, people say ammonia, think immediately fertilizers, but the market has potential clearly. So maybe you just want to unpick how you see the market for a clean ammonia and green ammonia developing. Certainly wasn't aware of clean detergents as an addressable market. But yeah, maybe you could sort of run through the merit order of markets that you're looking at, given your role in terms of developing those markets.
Yeah, so conventionally, if you see on the ammonia side, we have major domination by the fertilizer industry as an end use for ammonia. That's almost 80 to 85%, and then
is that market? Sorry to interrupt. Is that market static or growing? I mean, I've seen some data around considerable opportunities to grow the fertilizer industry, specifically in Africa. Obviously, I think there's quite a lot of fertilizer use in agriculture in a lot of the other markets, be it China, Europe, etc. But certainly there's a huge sort of growth opportunity for fertilizers, and indeed, obviously, decarbonizing the fertilizer industry.
Yeah, I mean, safe to assume that yes, the market for fertilizer would grow, but then it's questionable and debatable in terms of what rate would it sort of grow. Because remember, I mean, the conventional fertilizer industry is dependent on the pricing of the natural gas, and whenever there's a big fluctuation, it impacts the fertilizer production as well. So if you see the last years, when the gas price was really high, some of the production in Europe especially was not viable.
Yeah.
So it led to deficits in the market and price shoot up. So I think it's a direct function of on the gray ammonia side, the direct function of the natural gas. But yes, the market should and would expand. And I think Africa, you mentioned, is not only Africa, but even in Asia and other regions, we would see growth on the fertilizer side.
Right.
So yes, coming back to my original point that traditionally and conventionally we see ammonia markets for the fertilizers as the key market for ammonia. But when we are talking about the sustainable ammonia, clean ammonia globally, I think there are a lot of end users, especially the hard to abate sectors, that have not been traditionally looked at ammonia as a fuel for decarbonization. But I think those industries and end users are now opening up big time. I mean, we talked about fertilizers. Industrial chemical continues to be a big outlet. I think that's going to grow. But more so, in terms of scale and size, I think the two biggest end users for ammonia industry in the future, particularly for the sustainable ammonia, would be power sector and also maritime.
Yeah.
Just to give you an example, Japan and especially Japan now with its are experimenting with using ammonia up to 20% in the existing coal fired power plants, and only for a 20% blending. For a 1 gigawatt plant, they require around 500,000 tons of ammonia. So that's a massive scale there, and in just one plant. So if you just scale that up further globally, I think there's a massive demand which is going to come on the power side, not only in terms of co-firing, but also on the fact that technology is being developed by MHI, IHI, GE partnership on direct firing of ammonia and
Yeah.
direct, the turbines on direct firing. So I think that is going to be a massive end use, hopefully in the next few years time frame. I think the technology would be available by 2025, 26, and would be available commercially. Similarly, on the marine side, currently the engine technology is under development, and you would see a lot of announcements around that. So we are hopeful that by 2026 we would see the engines available commercially, and then currently only with there are already, I think, if I am correct, 11 to 12 ships that have been announced that have been currently under construction on ammonia dual fuel use. And again, the scale and size of this industry would be huge, and it's also driven by the policies, with the Fuel EU Maritime and the EU ETS driving that, particularly in the European region. So we continue to focus on these two, in addition to the conventional side of fertilizers and industrial chemicals. And then there are other industries also on the periphery, which are looking at either through direct use of ammonia or through cracking. If you see the steel industry, with the recent announcement of the tender by Thyssen Steel in Germany, I think that's a massive end use. Of course, hydrogen continues to play a big role there, but I think there is opportunity for ammonia to be used not only as an energy carrier or hydrogen carrier, but also in terms of direct uses. So I think that's how the market would shape up in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, there's some certain uses I wasn't aware of. I mean, just to pick out that steel use, how exactly I mean, is it within a type of DRI that ammonia can be used as opposed to hydrogen, or what are
Yeah.
there certain advantages to using ammonia that you don't have with hydrogen?
So one use clearly at the moment with the EAF technology, electric arc furnace technology, is of course to crack ammonia and then use it through hydrogen. That's one of the key routes. But then there are some studies already commissioned, and if I'm correct, again, this Fraunhofer Institute in Germany has come up with a study of using ammonia for direct burning in the furnace. Yes, it's early stages, but then even on the power side and marine side, if you look at the landscape 2 or 3 years back, there was hardly anything available. But the technology is such that it's developed rapidly, and we assume that in the years to come, similar development would take place for ammonia firing directly in the furnaces for steel production. But yes, I mean, it is something that we believe is going to come later. But then the route via cracking is already available to use hydrogen in the steel making. So yeah.
And then around, I mean, obviously, ammonia is a traded global good today. Clearly, there have been some concerns around toxicity, etc. And I was talking to another client, Green Energy Park, who are building in Croatia, a deep water port that they say is actually very, very useful for shipping ammonia, because ammonia is quite energy dense, so ships actually need to have a deep water port. Is that correct? Is that how you see that there is opportunities around building specific ammonia infrastructure and terminals around the world?
Yeah, I mean, as OCI, I mean, we pride ourselves in handling not in terms of production, handling, and storage, and also distribution of ammonia safely for the last 40 years or so. I mean, and in terms of infrastructure, I mean, we are proud to say that we operate the only existing ammonia terminal in Northwest Europe, in the OTE terminal in Port of Rotterdam.
Yeah.
So yes, of course, it is there is an element of toxicity involved, but it is with every fuel. I mean, you handle. I mean, it comes with experience. It comes with knowing how to do these operations safely, and that's what we pride ourselves in. I mean, we have one of the most impressive track records globally in terms of safe handling and distribution of ammonia. So yes, there are elements to it, but it is not more than any other fuel as well, which is in that domain. But with experience, of course, we take pride in ourselves, and then we continue to work on that, and we operate the terminal in Rotterdam. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's been great to catch up. Great to get your insight and thoughts around ammonia. I think it's certainly a sector which is clearly only going to grow in terms of clean ammonia, and it'll be interesting to see the development of the uses. So yeah, we look forward to your participation at the live event, which is due to happen 9th to 11th of April in London, as I said, World Hydrogen UK. So many thanks, Akshay. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to share your thoughts, and we look forward to meeting you face to face.
Thanks, Nadeem, and thanks again for having me here. And look forward to the event. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Excellent. Take care. Bye-bye.